every morning, millions of people wake up carrying invisible battles. Some fear failure. Some fear rejection. Some fear that they aren't successful enough, attractive enough, or important enough. They spend their lives chasing approval from people who barely think about them. They panic over problems that haven't happened. They lose sleep over opinions that don't matter. Yet, nearly 2,000 years ago, a group of philosophers discovered something extraordinary. They found a way to remain calm when surrounded by chaos. Confident without arrogance. Powerful without controlling others. And happy without depending on circumstances. This philosophy became known as Stoicism. It wasn't created for scholars. It wasn't meant only for kings. It was designed for anyone who wanted to become impossible to break. Today, you'll discover 10 Stoic lessons that have transformed emperors, slaves, generals, entrepreneurs, athletes, and ordinary people alike. Like and subscribe because by the end of this video, you may never look at your problems the same way again. When most people hear the word Stoic, they imagine someone with no emotions. Someone cold. Someone who never smiles. But Stoicism has never been about suppressing emotion. It's about mastering it. The greatest Stoic thinkers understood something modern society often forgets. You cannot control what happens to you. But you can always control how you respond. This simple idea became the foundation of one of history's most influential philosophies. It guided a Roman emperor named Marcus Aurelius as he ruled an empire during wars and deadly plagues. It strengthened a former slave named Epictetus, who found freedom even while his body belonged to another man. It comforted Seneca, one of the richest men in Rome, when he was sentenced to death by the emperor he had once mentored. Their lives were very different. But their wisdom pointed to the same truth. The strongest person isn't the one who defeats others. It's the one who conquers themselves. Lesson 1. Control what you can control. Imagine leading the most powerful empire on earth. Every day, your decisions affect millions of lives. Barbarian tribes threaten your borders. Disease spreads through your cities. Trusted friends betray you. Your own family disappoints you. This wasn't fiction. It was the daily reality of Marcus Aurelius. Yet instead of complaining, instead of blaming fate, he opened his journal and wrote words that would echo through history. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Think about that. Not power over the economy. Not power over other people. Not power over the weather. Or your past. Only your own mind. Most of our suffering comes from fighting battles we were never meant to win. We try to control what strangers think about us. We try to force people to love us. We replay yesterday's mistakes. We worry about tomorrow's uncertainties. Meanwhile, the only thing truly within our control is this present moment. Our choices. Our character. Our response. Imagine two people losing the same job. One spends months blaming the company. The other asks, "What can I learn from this?" One remains trapped. The other begins building a better future. The event was identical. The response changed everything. Marcus Aurelius knew that life doesn't reward those who control everything. It rewards those who control themselves. Lesson 2. Obstacles are opportunities. During his reign, Marcus Aurelius spent nearly a decade away from the luxury of Rome. Instead of relaxing in palaces, he lived in military camps, sleeping in tents, crossing frozen rivers, leading soldiers through exhausting campaigns. Most emperors would have seen this as punishment. Marcus saw something else. Training. Every hardship became an opportunity to strengthen his character. Years later he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Think about that sentence. What stands in the way becomes the way. The obstacle isn't blocking your growth. It is your growth. The difficult boss teaches patience. Failure teaches resilience. Heartbreak teaches emotional independence. Criticism teaches humility. Without resistance, nothing becomes stronger. Not muscles. Not minds. Not character. Modern life encourages comfort. Stoicism encourages growth. Because comfort makes life easier. But challenges make people stronger. The next time something goes wrong, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" try asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" That single question has the power to transform frustration into progress. Lesson 3, your peace should never depend on someone else, unlike Marcus Aurelius. Epictetus wasn't born into privilege. He entered the world as a slave. His owner reportedly treated him with cruelty. According to ancient accounts, one day his master twisted his leg. Epictetus calmly warned him, "If you continue, you'll break it." The man ignored him. His leg broke. Instead of screaming in hatred, Epictetus simply replied, "I told you it would." Whether every detail of that story is literal or partly legendary, it reflects the remarkable calm for which he became known. Years later, after gaining his freedom, he became one of the greatest Stoic teachers in history. He taught something the modern world desperately needs to hear. No one can insult you unless you allow their words to control your mind. People will misunderstand you, judge you, mock you, ignore you. That is life. But your inner peace is yours to protect. When your happiness depends on someone else's approval, you become their prisoner. Real freedom begins the moment you realize your worth isn't decided by applause. It's decided by your character. 3 lessons. 3 timeless reminders. Control your mind. Turn obstacles into opportunities. Never surrender your peace to another person's opinion. But the greatest Stoics believed these lessons were only the beginning. Because the next lesson may be the hardest one of all. Lesson 4. Accept that everything is temporary. Take a moment to imagine standing in the heart of ancient Rome, the greatest city the world had ever seen. Its streets were filled with merchants, senators, soldiers, philosophers, and emperors. To those who lived there, Rome must have felt eternal, unshakable, invincible. Yet today, most of that empire exists only as scattered ruins and fading pages in history books. The people who believed their power would last forever are now remembered only by stone statues and forgotten names. Marcus Aurelius understood this better than anyone. As emperor, he could command armies with a single sentence. Yet every night, he reminded himself of a truth most people spend their lives avoiding. Everything changes. Every success. Every failure. Every relationship. Every possession. Even life itself. He wrote, "Observe constantly that all things take place by change." This wasn't meant to make people hopeless. It was meant to set them free. Think about your own worries. The embarrassment that keeps you awake at night will probably be forgotten within a year. The painful chapter you're living through now will one day become a story you tell someone else. Even happiness isn't permanent. Which is why Stoics believed we should appreciate every good moment while it lasts. Nothing stays forever. Not pain. Not pleasure. Not youth. Not wealth. When you truly understand that, you stop clinging so tightly to what cannot stay. Instead, you begin to live. Lesson 5. Wealth cannot buy inner peace. Many people assume happiness begins the moment they finally have enough money. A bigger house. A better car. More expensive clothes. A larger bank account. The Stoic philosopher Seneca knew this illusion better than most. Unlike Epictetus, Seneca wasn't poor. He was incredibly wealthy. One of the richest men in the Roman Empire. He advised emperors, owned luxurious estates, possessed immense influence. By every worldly measure, he had already won. Yet he spent much of his life warning others about becoming slaves to luxury. He once wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Think carefully about those words. Real poverty isn't always empty pockets. Sometimes, it's an endless appetite. You've probably experienced it yourself. You finally buy something you've wanted for months. The excitement lasts a few days, maybe a week. Then your mind starts searching for the next thing. This cycle never ends. Seneca practiced something unusual. Despite his wealth, he would occasionally spend several days living as if he had nothing. He wore simple clothes, ate plain food, slept without comfort. Not because he enjoyed suffering, but because he wanted to remind himself that happiness wasn't dependent on luxury. He wanted to ask himself one question: is this really what I feared? Every time he finished one of these exercises, he became a little less afraid of losing everything. Because he had proven to himself that his peace didn't come from possessions. It came from character. Imagine how different your life would feel if losing your phone, your job, or your expensive lifestyle didn't destroy your sense of self. That was the freedom Seneca sought. And perhaps, it's the freedom many of us are still searching for. Perhaps you aren't leading an empire. Perhaps you aren't giving speeches before senators. Perhaps history will never write your name in books. But every single day, you fight battles no one else can see. The battle against doubt, against fear, against anger, against distraction, against the temptation to become someone you are not. Those battles matter more than you realize. Because every choice you make shapes the person you'll become. Stoicism doesn't promise a life without pain. No philosophy can. People will still disappoint you. Dreams will still fail. Loss will still come. The world will remain unpredictable. But Stoicism offers something far more valuable: the ability to remain steady when everything around you is changing. To remain kind when others become cruel. To remain disciplined when others surrender. To remain grateful even when life becomes difficult. That is strength. Not the strength to overpower others, but the strength to master yourself. Thousands of years have passed. Empires have risen. Empires have fallen. Technology has transformed the world beyond anything Marcus Aurelius could have imagined. Yet the human heart has hardly changed at all. We still seek peace. We still fear failure. We still struggle with anger, loss, pride, and uncertainty. That is why Stoicism continues to endure. Not because it belongs to ancient Rome, but because it speaks to something timeless within us. So tomorrow morning, before the world begins demanding your attention, pause for a moment. Take one slow breath. Ask yourself one question. What kind of person do I want to be today? Not, how much money will I make? Not, who will praise me? Not, what can I control in the world? Instead, what can I control within myself? Because that question has the power to change everything. The Stoics believed that wisdom wasn't something to be admired. It was something to be lived. If even one of these lessons stayed with you today, then their voices are still echoing across 2,000 years. And perhaps, tomorrow, they'll echo through your life as well. Hit the subscribe button for more.